I think I should say these two words. Misha Collins!
So's your face.
We're trying to social distance. I want to share something personal and private about Rich, right? Before he goes. I have long admired that Rich's kids are here visiting this weekend. I don't know if he's talked about that. He has.
Frank was on stage.
When we first met, one of the things that he said to me, kind of condescendingly, was, I really make an effort not to exploit my children on social media. And I was like, how do you make any money? And the short answer is he doesn't make much money. But he makes a lot of money. So this is where it gets personal and inappropriate. So I'm sorry about this.
That's okay.
But for a long time, there's been this running joke that Jared has made with Rich's kids, which is that he's like, hey, come on guys, come see your real dad, your biological father. Right?
Good friends.
In poor taste, but everybody's like, And I have not seen Rich's kids for a long time. But they're, back in the green room, and I walked in and I was like, oh my God, they're this tall. And all of a sudden it's like, oh.
There's definitely something Padalecki about them.
Yeah. They have long flowing hair.
They break everything they touch.
They sweat when they're standing still.
It's weird.
It certainly raised more questions than answers.
Yeah,
but
thin legs, kind of hulking on top. It's confusing.
Skin tight shirts. Relaxed attitude towards work. I will say, in the weirdness of all the 2 years we've all had away from each other. Obviously, Rob and I see each other sometimes, but we haven't seen each other as much as we used to. I haven't seen Matt at all. And I realized that Misha, when I saw Misha today, I'm like, oh, I haven't seen you since Rob and I interviewed you when you were in my house, destroying my kitchen. It's a weird thing to say, wow, it's been a while since you squatted in my home, which is what happened during lockdown, and that was the last time I kind of saw you. Yeah, I mean, weird times.
I remember squatting in your home. You and your family were up in Oregon, correct, for a while, and I was in LA, and your house was empty, and it seemed like a waste. I like to throw ragers, now I'm going to get personal about myself, just because I want to level the playing field. I typically sleep naked. And in this instance, slept naked in your bed. This is 100% true, this story. So,
I gotta be honest, hearing that my wife had sired children with Jerry Padalecki was less uncomfortable.
like I owned the place. And I got out of bed and strolled downstairs to make myself a cup of tea. And
Oh no.
then I was like, oh, there's a Nest camera on. Right at waist height. Right there. Just. And I never talked to you about this, because I then scoured the house for the other Nest cameras that you had been watching me on for about a week at that point.
Well, that's JC's personal feed, so I don't have access to the footage. Thank God I don't check the security cameras much, because this would have been a really awkward reunion, I gotta tell you. Already, to my to-do list is right at the top, burn my sheets. And you know what, it's time to go bed shopping, I think. Hey honey, good news! We're gonna get a new bedroom set. With that,
Well, yeah.
I leave you, Misha comments.
Hello.
Well, speaking of exploiting my children, I'm going to do that right now. I woke up yesterday to Mason. She has a karaoke machine. A microphone and an amplifier is basically all it is. And I love the sound of her voice. Not always when she's singing. And it's a very loud, very obnoxious thing to have in the house. This is a sort of a backwards way to get into this story. So this Christmas I had this sort of epiphany it was like early December. I hadn't bought the kids any Christmas presents yet. I didn't have any idea what they wanted or what I was going to get them. And all of our relatives were coming for Christmas. And they started sending me emails like, what do the kids want for Christmas? I don't know. And then I said to Mason, we were sitting in the living room, and I said, Mason, what would you think if we just like, instead of getting each other presents for Christmas this year, what if the whole family just got presents for some families in the community that like actually really don't have stuff and for whom it would be a big deal to get presents? And she was like, yes, that sounds amazing. I actually always really hate Christmas. I was like, I've always hated Christmas. Tell me more. I mean, for me, I said, Mason, for me, I remember when I was a kid, I would have such anticipation, there would be so much buildup. And then Christmas morning would happen, and I would feel after it, I would feel dead inside. Like, all of this buildup, and then I'd have a toy train or something, but it just never satisfied me on an existential level. Right, Mason? Isn't that what it's like? She said, yeah, and also, I'm always opening presents that are from a relative. I'm so worried that I'm not going to like it, and then I'm going to have to lie and say I like it. So I'd rather, and I have everything I need. And I was like, this is great. We're going to transcend the consumerism of Christmas. And then Wes is in the kitchen, and he said, yeah, that sounds good to me too. And I said, great, this is going to be great. And so we spent a lot of time. It was like Santa's workshop when we were the elf slaves. And we just worked our asses off, wrapping all these presents for all these families, and we delivered it to them. And it was really satisfying because some of the families were actually there, and they cried, and our kids hugged each other, and it was just very sweet exchanges and very gratifying. And then we got back, and it was 2 days before Christmas, and I said, doesn't this feel nice? This is actually the spirit of Christmas. This is what it's supposed to be. It's about selfless giving for other people in need? And Mason said, yeah, it really does feel nice. And, you know, I'm still gonna get stuff from Santa anyway.
Called that one.
I hadn't thought it all the way through, I guess. I started flop sweating. Oh, I forgot about him.
It's all right. I'm sure Gabe was free.
Hi, I'm sorry, I've monopolized. Our time is over. I'm sorry if we waited on you.
No, this has been great. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi. So there's a Facebook group, Vegas Con. So we took a poll of questions, and so this is from the group.
Oh, this is like a crowdsourced
Yeah,
question.
crowdsourced questions.
Oh.
So I'm sorry it's not deep. If you could
This
pick,
is like the collective
yeah.
mindset. It's not very deep.
Yeah.
People, when you put them all together, people aren't that bright. It's the lowest common denominator.
Absolutely. So this is what you get.
Okay.
If you could pick from the cast, homecoming king and queen, who would it be?
Me and Shoshana. Thank you. And by the way, how does that work?
You just do a little poll and people vote for it.
So, what did you give them 2 choices?
No, so I opened it up and it said plug in your choices, and so people just put their thoughts in, and then we all voted on it. So, top question.
That was the #1 question. Huh? Wow. All right. Good to know. Big thinkers, huh? Hi.
Hi. My question to you is, through all the FBI alibis that are used throughout the show, if you could have chosen...
You were going to say, of all the alibis that you've given to the FBI.
If you could have chosen who you were, who was your alibi for that episode, who would you have chosen?
If I could have chosen one, I don't know. I think it would be. I mean, I think that there were times. I wasn't on Beyonce at one point. I don't know if it ain't. I was Lizzo. Yeah. I was Lizzo, and Jensen was Beyonce. I was both. I was both Lizzo and Beyonce. I gotta watch the show sometime. I think Beyonce is great. I should have just stuck with that throughout. Also, why do they always change their aliases? Why not just stick with one the whole time? Because it becomes confusing. It's like a memory game that now Sam Dean has to remember. What the hell did you just say he was? What was my name? Instead of just sticking with the same one all the time. I've been going by an alias my entire life. My real name is Misha. But at least I stay with that name. Although recently I've been thinking I should change my name from a Russian name to something else. From now on I'm going to be like, hey, I'm Mike. Hi. Okay, good time. Hi there.
Hello. My name is Risha.
Hi, Lisha. Lisha?
No, Risha.
Risha.
Yes.
Okay, hi, Risha.
My question is, if demons smell of sofa, what would angels smell of?
Shays Lounge.
Got it. Took me a second. Sulfur.
Oh, I thought you said sofa.
Angels smell like sofas.
That's what I heard.
And all the stuff that falls in the cracks. I know. It's gross. And you wouldn't think it, but that's how it goes.
No.
Yeah. I know. I get to make the rules. That's what the rules.
I don't believe you.
I'm sorry. I know it's very disappointing.
It is.
Well, this hasn't gone well. I mean, look, we don't know. The problem is humans, certain things smell great to humans. Humans don't like the smell of sulfur, for instance. But maybe to demons, that's like delicious. You know the expression like flies on shit? They like that smell. It's the opposite of a good smell to us. Angels have a different olfactory spectrum, okay? I'm telling you this for a fact. And they smell, angel deodorant actually smells like a sofa.
Angels don't sweat.
That's because they use antiperspirant that smells like a sofa. I can see right now that I'm not going to win this one, so I'm moving on to the next question. Hi.
I've really enjoyed road food. I think it's a really cool concept. And I'm just wondering if and when you get a second season, where do you want to go next?
Road food, the first season that we did of Road Food was so thrilling and interesting. And I have to say, you said, where do I want to go next?
Yes.
And the truth is, one of the things I learned in road food was my expectations are wrong. I kept on discovering that the places that I thought, like, oh, I don't want to, we're going to go do it, like Southside Chicago, I went to college there, I'm like, well, what am I going to see in Southside Chicago that's going to be interesting or new to me? It was fascinating. And what I learned along the way there was that if you pause and peel back the curtain and take a moment to get to know somebody wherever you are, you end up finding fascinating things. So my inclination is just to like slow down and be open-minded about where those places are. I mean, I am categorically interested in avoiding box stores and chain restaurants that are now metastasizing across the country, and seeking out little pockets that are clinging to some cultural integrity. But that is basically my litmus test. And Road Food is really, it's a US-based show so far, but I think that there is, a universe in which we could start exploring further flung corners of the world, and that might be interesting too. But it's kind of cool to just stop wherever you are and give people an excuse to open up to you. Yeah. Thanks. Hi.
Hi, Misha. So my question was actually, I think, very similar. I couldn't hear that one because I was telling her what mine was, but just based on your response, I think it's very close. I also have been enjoying your show.
Oh, I thought it was about angel smells.
No.
Okay, let's go. Bring it.
I've really been enjoying your show, and you have this magical ability to pull stories out of people. And I watch a lot of food shows, but what's so great about yours is you pull so many interesting things from the people, and you're just so respectful towards everyone, and the food even. Sometimes I see you eating food and I think, oh, that doesn't even look that good, and you manage to make it look like it tastes great. But I was gonna ask what your most, what you've learned from that show or from the travels, or what has been the most inspiring city or the most inspiring people that you've visited?
Well, I should tell you one thing. There's stuff that you don't see. We're editing it, right? And there's stuff that doesn't make it to the cut. And with most of the people I interview, what we do is I will start off by showing them pictures of their kids and saying, if you ever want to see them again, you answer my questions. And you'll notice a lot of times, there are a lot of times when I'm talking to somebody and at some point in the conversation they tear up about something. That's because right behind me and off camera, they're holding up a photo of that person's kids with a red line drawn across it. So we're using little tricks of editing in the camera to sort of get those performances out of people. And I guess one of the things I learned in my travels is that people really care about their kids. like, I waited in line. I got a real answer, you asshole.
You're at the wrong convention.
No, I like that answer.
Well, no, I actually think I've been hanging out recently with a friend, an old friend, who is very gregarious and very outgoing. And basically, like, every time you go into a coffee shop, he'll, like, talk to the, barista and get to know them. And then they're always like, where are you from? Or how long are you going to be in town? We should get together. It's like, how many phone numbers can you collect from strangers in, like, a given morning, man? This is getting annoying. But he's, like, genuinely interested in everyone and really wants to talk to them. And my MO as I go about the world, which I think is probably related to my childhood trauma, is that when I meet somebody, I'm basically like, hey, I just want to telegraph that I am completely unavailable for any human connection. Just want that, I want to put that on the table right now. Please do not make eye contact with me, because that is not going to go well. So for me, the project of doing road food was an opportunity for me to kind of turn that switch on. By the way, like, also being somebody who gets recognized and, like, has people, like, sometimes trying to intrude into my life that I don't know. That's just, like, that helps me put those barriers up all the more. So this was an opportunity for me to kind of take that my own shell down a little bit and open up to people and actually kind of be vulnerable myself, which was kind of a weird experiment, and it was really creepy for the crew for a little while. It was like, dude, we were like 3 episodes in, and the producer was like, hey, how's this going? Is this good? And I was like, I don't know, it's interesting. I think it is good. He's like, cool. You talk about your divorce a lot, huh? I'm sitting down and talking to absolute strangers about, like, just pouring my heart out because it was kind of like, I think a little bit for me just opening the floodgates, like, oh, all right, that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna, I'm not gonna be, guarded here. So for me, it was interesting more to see that when you are receptive and open, people reciprocate, like, big time. It was really, really fascinating to see. And I think enlightening a little bit. I felt like, oh, I think I do want to operate in the world a little bit differently than how I normally do. So I guess that was one thing I learned. Another thing I learned was that you hear all these platitudes, like, we're all the same, like, we're all Americans, we all, at the heart, at the core, like, we all want the same thing. We got to learn to get along with one another. We got to learn to develop empathy and understanding of one another. And all of those things are true, but also traveling around the country and meeting all these little, exploring all these little subcultures and communities, I realized, oh my God, we're all totally different. And we're all coming from completely different frames of reference. And for us to pretend, a couple of times in conversation, people use during the filming of Road Food, people use the expression melting pot, which I actually kind of hate that term, and I don't think that's true, and I also don't think it's in vogue anymore. But it isn't a melting pot. It's a quilt. Somebody else said this in Road Food. It's a quilt. It's like all of these very different swatches of fabric that are stitched together, and frankly, barely stitched together, and frayed, and at times, like, coming apart. But it is also what makes this place beautiful, is this true, authentic diversity and variety, and people who are coming from wildly different perspectives. Just being in Little Dominica in New York City, a place that I'd never been before, I was like, oh, this is actually, the culture here is completely different from, white Protestant American culture that I grew up in. People are totally open-hearted with one another on the sidewalk. Everyone is hugging everyone. I don't think I hugged someone on a sidewalk until I was 30. It's just really a different culture. And that's awesome to see, because it reminds you that potentially. There are a million ways to live. You don't have to live in, according to the template that you were born into, which is an idea that I like. I'm gonna stop talking. Hi.
This actually dovetails very nicely to what you just talked about. I appreciate and am grateful for how openly affectionate you are with the cast. I am a widow with a young son and no close, healthy role models for him, so I look for chances to show him men being openly affectionate like you are. So were you brought up like this, or is it the people around you or something you've learned as you've grown that makes you comfortable showing affection? And are you ensuring you bring your children up like this?
I was just thinking, like, if you told a random person on the street that these were the kind of conversations you would have at a sci-fi convention. And for those of you who are new here, I'm so sorry. It only gets worse. I have reflected on that a fair amount. My dad was not terribly affectionate, and I also didn't spend a ton of time with him when I was a kid. My mom, and I've talked about this with her recently, she kind of pathologized masculinity openly to me in a very kind of political way. Like she would like disparagingly say like that's machismo, sports were bad, things like that. So like stereotypically male behaviors were kind of were not smiled upon in my upbringing. But it's interesting because like I think Jared and Jensen, for example, and I think maybe you're talking about.
I actually asked them this question at the panel last year.
They're cold-hearted assholes, and
that's what they say.
So Jared and Jensen, I think, are like coming from the diametric opposite end of the spectrum. Like they grew up in sports, they grew up in more conservative, traditional American families with traditional gender roles, and they are very like we're all very affectionate with one another. We all say to one another, "I love you," and mean it. And I want to have relationships like that, and I'm grateful for them. And I'm very affectionate with my kids. Like we say "I love you" a lot, and I think that that's important.
So my son watches Supernatural with me now, and I've shown him pictures of all y'all, and he actually does appreciate that because he's now very affectionate with me. We lost his dad when he was 3, so he sees pictures like this as a good male role model, and he shows that to his friends too. And he actually tells his friends he loves them. Which is really weird for a teenager, but he does it because he thinks it's normal.
Well, the other thing though is I think it's actually there is a shift happening culturally where that's becoming more normalized and more okay, which is really great. And however you get there is good. With my kids, I say I love you, and then I wait, and then I say I won't feed you if you don't say it back. And so they learn that way. Through that modeling and incentive structure.
Oh, fuck.
Thank you.
Hi. I really loved about Road Food how you were able to show your adorable sense of humor and pull people into thinking you were serious. Like you had a nickel for every time drug someone in the woods or whatever, and the above ground coffins or whatever they're called. That woman. Anyway, but
she really did not like my proposal.
funny seeing their, thinking you're serious and then all of a sudden saying, you stop. Anyway.
I was asking
It's
this woman
horrible.
if they liked putting the coffins, because it was on this island that's actually like 3 feet above sea level. So if you bury somebody 6 feet underground, they're actually 3 feet underwater. So all the coffins are above ground. And I was like, oh, well, that's awesome. So then you can just like go check on the corpse whenever you want.
You're like, you can go visit them or make sure that
Make sure
they
they're
have gone
actually dead.
somewhere. Was there a moment that inspired you to create Gish? How did you come up with that? Wonderful organization.
Gish was not a moment of inspiration, it was a moment of desperation. It's a long story, and it's kind of boring, but I had said, but I'll tell it anyway. I don't value your time, so I'll just tell this story. So Gish was started, I had gotten a call from the VP of publicity of Warner Brothers who said, we're about, they're voting in the People's Choice Awards, and it looks like Supernatural is in second place. And it was like, and they're closing voting in a few hours. Would you mind tweeting about it? And so I tweeted, Warner Brothers just called me and promised me a live rhinoceros if we win the People's Choice Awards. So please vote, and I promise to share it with you if we win. And then we won. And then I was like, what am I going to do here? Because I hadn't made good on the rhinoceros thing. And so I called the LA Zoo. I went even further. So I said, thank you everyone, we won. If you voted, you want to redeem your portion of the rhinoceros, send a self-addressed stamped envelope to me. Plastic lined. Self-addressed, plastic lined stamped envelope. So, and then I got all these envelopes in the mail, and I was like, well, what am I going to do? Because I don't know if you know, but rhinos are endangered, and so it's hard to capture, kill, and dismember them and mail them to people.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
So I called the LA Zoo and I said, hey, you have rhinos? Could I get some rhino shit? They said no, and please don't call us again. And so then, I was in this store and I saw a puzzle that it was a rhino puzzle. And I was like, oh, well, that's perfect. And so I sent out puzzle pieces. Each person got a puzzle piece from these rhinos. They had three puzzles, and sent the puzzle pieces out. And on the back of the puzzle was written a team name. And then I made them all compete in an online scavenger hunt. And it turned into Gish. It was born of sheer boredom, obviously. Those are the inner workings of a truly disturbed and bored mind. Yeah. Hi.
Hi. Road food again. One of the things I noticed was during the filming of Supernatural, they went to great lengths to protect your vegetarianism. And yet in road food, it appears that you're eating meat. And I'm wondering how you're juggling that, because you in fact made a comment about your vegetarian friends. So I was just really fascinated in that so many of the meals that you're eating are carnivorous fashion.
Oh, you know what? Now that you're saying this, I'm realizing I kind of assumed when I was on road food, we had the moment when we had the barbacoa and I was eating the calf's eye. I kind of was thinking of that as a vegetable, but now that you mention it, that really wasn't vegetarian, was it?
If you don't want to address the issues.
No, I'm perfectly happy to talk about this. I'm ready. Let's go. What are some of the lengths that you're talking about in Supernatural about my vegetarianism?
Well, there was the whole thing about you had to eat a hamburger.
Yes.
And they ended up making it out of something
textured vegetable protein.
Pretty disgusting, but it was.
That was not hamburger meat?
Yes.
Well, here was the deal on that one. That was because they wanted it to be raw. And so for me to eat just raw hamburger meat would be a violation of union rules. So they got a vegetarian alternative that would not give me trichinosis. And I am not, so here's something, a secret. I am not a vegetarian. But I was a vegan at one point, and I've talked about that, so that could be confusing. And I was also a vegetarian for like a decade. I have been a vegetarian. Oddly, I was a vegetarian for about 10 years. A vegan first. This was my trajectory. I read a book called Diet for a New America, which made a very strong case why you should not eat meat. And by the way, you should not eat meat. We should not eat meat. It's not good for the planet, it's not good for our bodies, it's not a good thing to do. Except for it tastes good.
Because murder is delicious.
It's true. We should all be vegan. But I read this book and I was like, that's it, I'm out. I'm becoming a vegan. I was 18 years old. When I was 19, I was 30 pounds heavier. Because I was always hungry. And I ate tons of burritos. And then I became a vegetarian for about 10 years. And then I went on this silent Buddhist meditation retreat where they taught the merits of vegetarianism and not killing, and they fed all vegetarian food at the retreat. And I thought it was a very profound experience. It changed me in many ways. And I came back from that experience and immediately started eating meat for some reason. I can't explain it. And then this summer, my kids were like, hey, I was like, what do you want to do, kids, this weekend? And they said, I want to see some animals. And I said, okay, let's go find some animals. This sounds awesome. And so I just Googled farm and found a farm that would let us come look at the animals. And we went, and it turns out it was a farm that rescues factory farmed animals from miserable factory farming circumstances. And the people that run it are diehard vegans. And the little farm tour came along with some horror stories about the tortures that animals endure in factory farming. So now I am the proud owner of 2 vegans. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
So this is my first con, so I'm like shaking like a late talk to you. But my question is.
Welcome to the fray.
My question is, did you ever take anything from set? And if you did you want to?
Underwear.
Or did you
Did I ever take it? I'm misunderstanding the question. It sounded like you said, did I ever take anything from the set that I didn't want? I was on set, and I got syphilis, and I got home, and I was like, I didn't want this. I didn't want that.
Again?
Set, why did you give this to me?
Oh no, you took it.
I think I know what you mean. You weren't talking about that.
Oh, now she is.
So the truth is, Warner Brothers is a big company. It has a very robust legal team. They follow rules to the T. If I wanted to auction something off from set, it had to go all the way to the president of Warner Brothers. Didn't matter if it was a teacup from set. That had to get the okay from the president of Warner Brothers. It's that serious. So you do not take stuff. Categorically, do not take things from set. At the end of the first season of Supernatural, Jared and Jensen went into the wardrobe trailer and took everything that they could get their hands on, threw it into their trucks, and drove away. And so at the end of season 2, they had security lock the wardrobe trailer before wrap. Yeah. So here's the deal. At the end of the series, there's this sort of unspoken thing. Actors of a certain status on the show can kind of take some stuff and everyone will look the other way. If you then go and auction it off online, police will show up at your house. And you'll have to find a good alibi for the FBI. There's a little callback. earlier in our panel. So my plan had always been to come to the last day of shooting, because in the original script, I was going to be in the very last episode that was filmed. And so my plan had always been to rent a U-Haul and pretty much take fucking everything. And then COVID hit. I had finished what I had, it turns out, I wasn't coming back. Not only was I not coming back, I wasn't allowed back in the country because you couldn't just like cross the border at that point into Canada because of COVID. So I was stuck away from the things that I was rightfully going to steal. And I had to then get all of these proxy thieves to steal things for me. So I had to ask people to risk their jobs, their families' well-being and futures, so that I could have souvenirs from the show, which I did. And so now I have a small box of things that I sometimes look at covetously, and I have 3 Castiel trench coats, and a couple of other things. Small things, kind of throwaways that nobody else really wanted. Jared and Jensen each got Impalas, and that's cool. That doesn't bother me at all. What's that?
You were never even in the front seat?
I was in the front seat. I just wasn't in the driver's.
The gold hoopty.
Yeah. No, you know what I actually got? So they had like 6 Impalas, right? And some of them were just to be parked in the background. They didn't even have engines in them, kind of thing. And I got the dashboard from one of those. And I don't know if you've ever removed like the vinyl dashboard from a 1960s vehicle, but it basically just looks like garbage. If you saw it, you'd think, oh, somebody left a big piece of garbage. That's what I have in my garage. Basically taking up the whole garage, because it's enormous garbage.
So when's the auction?
It's pretty cool. And I'm saying that openly right now, and I'm quite certain that I'm going to get in trouble. Hi.
Hi, my name's Jenny, and this is my first convention. And
hi, Jenny.
Hi. My friend and I were wondering, assuming because Jack brought Cass back, where would Cass take Jack and Claire for their first family outing?
Aww. Like mini golf or something? Doesn't that sound nice? Where do kids go? Where do teenagers go these days? Teenagers and gods.
Teach them to hunt because Dean and Sam are dead.
Oh, teach them to hunt?
Yeah.
Oh, that's morbid. I thought you were like a fun Saturday thing, not like, okay, kids. Hey, kids, how about we go, hey, kids, for the weekend, I thought I'd teach you to kill.
What's the supernatural equivalent to Chuck E. Cheese's then?
The supernatural equivalent to Chuck E. Cheese is learning to hunt?
Basically.
Yeah, okay. Talk about intergenerational trauma. I had something funny to say, but it escaped me. I'm sorry. It is. It's sad that we couldn't have those family outings. I don't know that they would want to come though. They've now got their own things going on. Jack is like merged with the universe or fixing heaven or something. What is he doing now?
Well, he already fixed heaven with Cass's help, so.
Right, okay.
He's available.
I don't know if he's available for mini golf at this time.
He's got all the time in the world, he can pause it.
Oh, that's a good point. I lived across the street in Los Angeles from this castle. And it was built on, it was 10,000 square feet. And it was built on 10 lots. It was enormous. It was built by this guy who had been, supposedly, this was word on the street, in the mafia in the 1970s. And it was an exact replica of a castle that was on a hole at a mini golf course in Ventura. This guy was like, yeah, I like that. That's really cool. You know what? I want to build a fucking house like that. Build me that thing. And that's what I looked at, like out my window, was this enormous
Is there a windmill in front
mini
of
golf
it?
castle. You didn't ask, but I told you. Hi.
Hi, Misha. My name is Janine.
Hi.
I'm sorry for the accent bit and stuff.
No need to apologize for an accent. I'm sorry for my accent. Yes, I do. Yeah. Okay.
What's your favorite version of Castiel that you played? My favorite was when you were Lucifer. So what's your favorite?
Well, I had a lot of fun playing Lucifer. I would say if fun per minute on screen, it was probably at its highest with Lucifer. I just very much enjoyed that character. I've told this before, but Mark Pellegrino, who had played Lucifer prior to me and sort of established the character, he told me that in every scene, he starts the scene looking at the other characters in the scene with a question in his mind, which is, do I want to kill them or do I want to fuck them? And when that's your framework going through life, it turns out it's quite entertaining. So I did enjoy playing that character, but you asked what my favorite character was, and I would have to say Castiel, just good old Castiel. The coolest thing about playing Castiel for 12 years was that I got to know this fictitious character as if it were a real person. It became a part of the fabric of who I was, but it also became like I put on the trench. This is a little bit of like weird insight into the actor's mind, who plays a role for most of his life, which is an unusual phenomenon for actors. Like normally actors expect do a run of a play for a few months, or maybe do a series that lasts for 5 years or 6 years. That's like, it's a really long time. But to do 12 years or 15 years as the boys did, there's something about the character that just becomes automatic. And like I put on the trench coat and I would be Castiel, and Castiel, which was interesting on the face of it, and that would be interesting even if the character stayed static. But then Castiel proceeded to evolve over time because of his experiences. And that was just fascinating to be an observer of going on with Amy. It was really an interesting experience. And when we were finishing the show, we were in our last season. We were at our last San Diego Comic-Con, and we were doing an interview, and me, Jared, and Jensen, we were talking, and Jensen shared this dream that he had, which he's talked about before, but the dream was his dream of how the show ends, and the dream was Dean drives up to a crossroads in the Impala, and he meets some stranger that he met on Craigslist, and hands him the keys to the Impala, and the stranger who came on a motorcycle hands him the keys to the motorcycle, and then Dean drives off. And the reason that he's doing this is he no longer needs a passenger seat because Sam is gone, and he's left alone in the world. And it was a very vivid dream for Jensen. But as Jensen told this story in this interview that we were doing, all three of us teared up. And it was because those characters had become so real to us over the years of playing them that we could feel it was like a palpable loss. Like coming to the end of the show, there was actually and actively an emotional mourning that we all experienced. And it wasn't just because we knew that we were no longer going to be famous.
You were famous.
But it actually was. It was like we were feeling the passing of these characters who had become very real to us. So, yeah. I guess actual good old Castiel is my favorite because he's the one that I actually felt like I did. Hi.
So I first want to just start out by saying thank you for giving us Cass and giving us the character arc that we were able to enjoy on screen. Loved that, and I've also loved all of your projects post Supernatural, your podcast, your poetry book, which was fantastic. So just thank you for being you.
Thank you for your kindness.
That is to preface by asking, what other super awesome projects do you have in the works that you can tell us about that we would be excited to see you in?
Well, that reminded me of something that I'm forgetting. So thank you. This is a project right now. I am going to auction something off. That's my next project. This is my next project. I'm doing it right now. So this is, you can see that? That's, this is the, I don't know what the fuck this is. This is a sawed-off sweatshirt. And it is signed by everyone here, more signatures here. Signed by everyone here, except for Alex Calvert and Jensen Ackles because they don't care. And Matt Cohen also didn't sign it because he's uncaring as well. But I'm told that they will sign it before this is given to whomever wins this auction. And we are trying to raise some money to support people in Ukraine right now. I want to say that this is actually, in some respects, more symbolic than anything because the problems of nation states warring with one another are problems that only governments getting together can actually solve. In the biggest picture, humanitarian aid is not something that really should be left to the goodwill of humans in general. It's something that governments should be handling. But I think that all of us in the cast here and at Creation believe that it's important to send a message of support to people who are being oppressed and killed. And thank you, Masha. Hold up that flag for us, please.
He's holding a Ukrainian flag.
So we are, we're just going to auction this off, and then I'm going to direct you. The staff at Random Acts has curated a list of potential organizations that you can support if you're looking for something to support in Ukraine, and that information is at the Random Acts table in the vendor's room all weekend, along with well-informed Random Acts volunteers who actually know what they're talking about and what the organizations do. So what we're going to do here is we are going to raise money that is going to be split amongst those different organizations with the general targeted intention of providing humanitarian relief to.
QR code.
That's the QR code. So you can pick up your phone. It's okay now to pick up your phone and pretend to be taking a photo of the QR code and make a video of me openly. But that's a QR code that lists the organization. So if you want to make a donation, you can just use that QR code. In the meantime, we would like to start the bidding at, I'm an excellent auctioneer, starting at $1,000. Do I hear $50,000? Do you want to bid against yourself? You started at 1,000. Let's go big. Let's get this done. I said. What did you say? What did you say? 1,500. I made her bid against herself. I bid 2,000. Bid 2,000. We got bid 1,500. Bid 2,000. What? 2,000 woman over there with the mask. $2,500, $2,500, woman with the mask. Bid $3,000, woman with the mask. Bid $3,000, bid $3,500, $3,500, woman with the mask. Bid $3,500. Bid $3,500. Your friends can pony up a little bit too, and then you can do, all right, bid $4,000. Your friends can pony up a little bid. Bid $4,000. Just get everybody in your row to donate a little bit, and then you can do it. Bid $4,000. Make this a collective action. Bid $4,000. Bid $4,000. Bid $4,000. Bid $4,500. $4,500. Put it on. We're here together. Both raise your hands. Bid $4,500, bid $5,000. $5,000. Bid $5,000. Bid $5,000. Bid $5,000. If the second is if I say it enough times, you have to do it. Bid $5,000. It's bid $5,000. It's the sweatshirt without the sleeves. Bid $5,000. So $4,500. And I sincerely hope that Alex and Matt and Jensen will find the goodness in their hearts to finally sign this. I will add one caveat to that, which I think that it's very easy in the face of these things to feel hopeless and helpless, and it's really critical that we all do something. Someone said to me the other day, will you do your part to carry the common good? And I think that that's such an important question to ask yourself. It's not whether you are going to take responsibility for changing the course of the world or for saving everyone in Ukraine, but it's just making the commitment that you are going to do something, however small, because many hands make light work, and together we can actually do things. My next project is going to be to leave the stage, and I'm very excited about this opportunity that these gentlemen have afforded me. Thank you so much for asking. Yeah.
How did it go?
Went well.
Yeah?
Yes, this woman just made an incredible investment. It's only going to go up in value. You both made an incredible investment. You'll probably have to cut it in half to share it, but it's going to be great.
Awesome. You're closing deals right here on stage.
If you couple that bag with the ring footage of your sponge that we have on our hard drive at home, you can really raise some capital, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, that got weird. It's the least weird thing we've ever discussed.
One more thing. Like in Vegas 2 years ago was the beginning of the end for us. We almost there was this moment where everyone was like, are things going to get shut down? Is this pandemic going to be a real thing? Is this COVID going to actually shut things down? Are we doing a convention? And we came here, we did a convention, and that was the last convention that we did for a year and a half. It was only a few days later that they shut down production on Supernatural, and the whole world seemed to close down for a protracted period. So symbolically, it feels very meaningful to be back here and talking to you again. And yes, great to be back into the world with you all. We have work to do, and thank you.
Yeah.
who would love to have Misha Collins walking naked through their home.
Yeah.
I am not one of them.
That's it.
This has been a tough day.
Yeah.
Things were said, truths were told.
Yeah.
You know, you can't put all the toothpaste back in the tube, Billy, you know what I'm saying? I got nothing.
It's so funny because the band only gets like an hour break a day, and it's right now before our show, and the guys are so ready to go back and have our 1 hour dinner break.
I know.
And he knows this, and that's why he's talking really slow.
But Billy!
We appreciate you.
Yeah.
Is Norton's our
Let's be honest, Norton quit playing the drums about 10:30 this morning.
That's true.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's a concert that's going to happen on this stage tonight. And it's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, we got all of our guests back with us.
We got guests.
We've changed the set list up. We're
different.
It's all new. 2022 Vegas. We're back.
You got new swing songs, new Benedict songs. It's going to be a hell of a show.
Space performance.
Yes.
Space back.
I'm back. I can't wait to see all of y'all right back in here after your photographs and your autographs. Thank you for a great day, everybody. See you next